Information, news, and entertainment on demand.
WSRadio.com. Welcome to This Week in Marketing, brought to you by the San Diego chapter of the American Marketing Association.
Good morning, San Diego marketers. You're listening to another episode of This Week in Marketing, brought to you by the American Marketing Association San Diego chapter, and as always, powered by WS Radio. A couple announcements to get through before we get into the show here. First of all, we are sad to announce that our April 9th event, our Mixer by the Beach, is unfortunately canceled due to this COVID-19 pandemic. And all future events are on hold for right now. The good news is we are looking into a solution to provide online events to you guys so we can continue providing value to the San Diego marketing community and keep moving forward, keep everyone together, and just keep providing the value. So today's episode is, you guessed it, about COVID-19 and what marketers can do to get through these tough times. I know things are looking a little bleak right now, but as always, we will get through it. Humankind has been fighting plagues since the beginning of time, and I have no doubt if we follow the CDC's recommendations and practice social distancing, we will get through it. All right. Good morning, Sam. You on the line today?
Yep. Hey, what's happening, Kevin?
Not a whole lot. What's happening with you?
Just quarantine, trying to work from home and, it's interesting everybody's in the same boat, right? So that's good at least.
Yeah. Well, we're getting through this together. The best thing we can do is just, keep our nose to the grindstone and see what happens.
Yeah, totally. I'm excited for the show today.
Yeah, me too. So we're talking all about COVID-19 and what brands can do to keep moving forward. Sam, I'm curious, how have you seen, kind of brands counteract this? How are you doing it from an agency standpoint?
Well, the most important thing is, I think, targeting your messaging, right? And understanding how your customers are buying, right? And so, what a lot of companies are doing right now is they're trying to understand, with this budget, do I need to spend this right now, right? Because with so much uncertainty, people are scared, right? So they're kind of buttoning down the hatches here, and they're
right.
trying to figure out where to spend, where to pull back, and making sure they can stay viable, right? And I think it really goes back to understanding what type of product you sell, right? I mean, if you sell something that is like a discretionary income product that maybe people don't need, right? You're a little bit more of a tricky situation because people aren't buying funny things, or they're not buying they're not buying non-necessities right now.
Right.
So that's kind of where most companies are, and then there's some companies that are doing really well, some companies that are not. It's it's very tumultuous time right now.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of what we're seeing is companies shy with marketing. Their organic traffic rates are going down, their conversions are way down, their revenue is taking a huge slash. We were on the phone with a client yesterday. They sell furniture, and they were saying their profit margins are down, or their revenue is down almost 30 to 40% right now. And so I think it's totally understandable why a lot of brands are getting gun shy when it comes to keeping their marketing moving forward.
Yeah, totally. I mean, this is a good time to connect with the customer in a smart way too, right? So
exactly.
I don't necessarily think you need to pull all budget, right? But you need to be smart about where you're spending it and what your messaging is right now, right? Because you can't just do the same messaging that you've been doing for the last 3 months, right? It's got to be a little bit more targeted now.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. And I think what we're seeing right now is, brands are just accepting the fact that performance-based marketing right now, if you're shooting for conversions, if you're shooting for sales, it's going to underperform no matter how you look at it. So I think the move right now is to really focus on the long-term branding and really connecting with people on a personal level. And, obviously it's not going to bring in tons of revenue right now, but the goal right now is to, a day is going to come when COVID-19 is over, and I think the name of the game right now is, what is it going to be like? Are you going to be coming out of the cave after a hibernation, dusting the cobwebs off, trying to get things up and going again, or are people going to remember what you did during the crisis?
Yeah,
I
totally.
want to share one of my favorite examples.
Go ahead.
So this goes back to World War II. So the clothing brand Mark and Spencer's, they're a luxury clothing brand back in the day. So when England was getting bombed during the war, people were losing their homes, business owners were losing their businesses. Things were just in total turmoil. It was complete chaos. Obviously, Mark and Spencer's revenue is taking a hit. So instead of pushing sales, instead of, trying to get more people in the door, what they were doing, they were quickly manufacturing like clothing rations. They were, setting up soup kitchens. They were donating to medical relief that, to help wounded soldiers. They were, they were really going the extra mile to help the community during the tough time. And, they weren't huge before the war, but in the decades after the war, they were really in their heyday. And a lot of people remembered and admired their acts of kindness during the war, and I think that benefited them a lot in the long run.
Yeah, totally. And that's a really interesting case, and I think there's a lot of brands that can do that, right? But not every brand can be the best COVID marketer brand ever. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So another thing too that you can look at, it's not just like, hey, be the best brand ever. And, it's also like, hey, look, understand that this is tough times when you're forecasting your revenue and forecasting your your marketing success. You have to understand that there's extraneous circumstances, right? So when you're looking at year-over-year performance, right, you can't just look at it just straight year-over-year because there's a bunch of headwinds that are impacting your overall performance, right? So adjusting your scope, right, or adjusting your kind of purview for how you're looking at your marketing budget and your marketing success is important too.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think one of the biggest things that brands need to keep in mind is now is not the time to push fear. I think what we're seeing, it's very easy. For example, hand sanitizer companies, insurance companies, they could really be pushing fear marketing right now. Like, fear is really ingrained into the DNA of those types of companies. But now is not the time. Like, people are getting enough fear on the internet or on from the news. This is when businesses really need to step up and be leaders. They need to inspire people and not push the fear tactics.
Totally.
I know.
I agree.
I know Purell. I saw an article the other day. They're doing a lot to educate developing countries during this time. On cleanliness and how to stay safe from the virus going around. And I think that's really powerful.
Totally. And I also think too, the messaging that you send out individually is really important because everyone has seen an email that they've gotten from any company that's ever given them their email address, right? I mean, I've gotten literally 50 emails of just, here's what, we're doing at this one company that I bought one thing 5 years ago. Here's what we're doing for COVID, right?
Yeah.
And it almost felt like that was like a trend, right? One company started doing it, then everybody started doing it, and it's like this blanket message where, what I would prefer, and what I've seen some companies do, is a more personalized message that's like, hey, here's what we're doing, here's our company, here are the people that are impacted by this. Just wanted to let you know that we're not just a faceless company, we're people, and we're here to support a mission, right? And I think that's kind of an important way to talk about how you're dealing with it, not just like, hey, we're washing our hands and we're sanitizing our pens or whatever. It's here are the people behind the brand, right? And I think it's a really good time for you to showcase, especially on your social media channels, of showcase who the people are that are not necessarily being impacted. I mean, you don't want to pander necessarily, but talking about, hey, here's our production designer and here's our purchasing person and stuff that normally wouldn't hit the social media waves for sure.
Oh yeah, totally. Another thing we're seeing, we work with a couple of clients in IT, or they do cybersecurity, and they're they're talking about the virus, and they're, talking about work from home setups, and then they're sending a picture of a collage of all of their company employees and their work from home setups. And in addition to that, then they're also offering some very frontline cybersecurity tips, because I think we're seeing a lot of right now, some cyber scumbags right now are really trying to capitalize on this crisis to, hack people's personal VPNs as they're working from home. And a lot of these IT companies are, giving really user-friendly tips. It's not to sell their services. It's not to promote their brand. It's just to provide, super user-friendly values on how companies can stay safe. And I think that's really powerful.
Yeah, totally. I hadn't even heard about that. That makes a ton of sense. There's a ton of other industries that are doing really well right now that are like home-based stuff, right? So that's, it's definitely a good time if you're Zoom or, Asana or Slack or one of those, remote work tools, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I actually bought a few shares in Zoom a couple days ago. I'm actually kicking myself for not doing it a few weeks earlier. We're seeing them
totally.
Hopefully take off a little bit. I hope I didn't buy at the peak, but I guess that's a conversation for another day.
Totally.
But yeah, I think a big thing that we need to tell marketers right now is not the time to ramp down. Now is really the time to ramp up. There's a really interesting quote from Warren Buffett that I want to share here. It's be fearful when others are greedy, and greedy when others are fearful. I think this gem just applies perfectly to today's circumstances and how marketers and brands really need to be approaching this situation. So I think, it's a really natural response to just want to shut down your marketing altogether and, just kind of hunker down in the bunker and wait it out. And I think, for performance-based marketing, that's a good idea. But, this is the time you really got to be pushing your brand values.
Yeah, totally. And you have to, more like just saying earlier too, when you're forecasting and stuff, you have to look at the budget spend a little bit different, right? Where you can't, it's not just necessarily a dollars in, dollars out approach anymore. It's, understanding that there could be multiple touches before somebody makes the purchase, or, they could be, not ready to purchase now, but they might be in 3 weeks when, this is over, if it's over in 3 weeks, right? But, and the other thing, there's other tips I think that, we can give out, right? Where, I wouldn't say hey, spend more money if you don't have it, right? I mean, that's a situation where you might need to look at your marketing budget as a whole and understand, how are you allocating your dollars, right? Mm-hmm. And re-looking at, how that allocation process works to make sure you're being as efficient as you can. But also, understanding that hey, look, there might be a different way that people buy, right? So, understanding that your user is getting savvier and savvier, right? And you need to have different messaging on different platforms. And you need to be looking at multiple touch attribution and understanding that, it's not as simple as, hey, first user went on my website and bought a thing, my marketing's awesome. That makes sense.
No, absolutely. And I also think this is a really good opportunity to, get creative with your strategies around the situation. And for example, I know Tito's Vodka, they are manufacturing their own hand sanitizer and basically just giving them out. And I think that's, not only are you really helping the community during these times, you're getting your brand out there in a really positive way. And, you don't have to be a massive brand to do these little creative acts. You could, manufacture, I think there's a template online where you can manufacture surgical masks out of, cotton materials and donate them to hospitals. I think hospitals are actually begging for people to do that right now. I mean, how hard is that for a company to do? It doesn't matter what your background is. You're helping the cause. I think
totally.
A big message right now is we're all in this together.
Yeah, totally. What kind of tips, maybe we should transition a little bit in the last 15 minutes here and talk a little bit about companies that are just straight up down to zero, right? Museums and shops and things that are, quote, non-essential, right? Mm-hmm. Because now, you can't just be dropping $100K a month in paid search and paid social and, media buying and stuff when you literally have nobody coming to your door, right? Because they're not allowed to, right? So, I'm thinking about museums and other kind of in-person stuff, right? There's like parks and, cruise lines and, even hotels to some extent, right? What are some ways that you've seen those companies that just straight up have zero revenue right now, like, impact and kind of have cool style, like marketing and messaging?
Yeah, I mean, that kind of goes back to what I was just saying. What was that? Go ahead.
I was going to say, I could start if you want. I've got kind of a good one already in the holster here.
Yeah, go ahead. By all means.
So
holster it up.
I don't remember what I don't remember what museum it was, which is probably not a good sign. But they released their penguins from their penguin enclosure and let them. I think it was the Shed Aquarium, or it might have been a museum up in Seattle. I can't remember. But they released their penguins up into their like main museum, and their penguins were like walking around, like seeing the different exhibits, and they basically just filmed their penguins walking around the museum because there's nobody else there, right? And that kind of set off this whole theme of like other museums in that city would like people would dress up in a penguin costume and like walk around, like at the art museum. I'm pretty sure it was Chicago, but at the art museum, somebody dressed in a penguin outfit and like walked around. They filmed it, and that was just like a way to like get really funny content that was lighthearted, that talked to the people that in the city that could potentially come, to shout out like, hey, look how cool we are, look how cute these penguins are, like get ready to come back when you can, right? And I thought that was really cool. And there's been other examples of people showcasing their stuff, right? That said, hey, look, you may not have noticed this last time you came here, but check out this awesome exhibit, or check out this great thing we have, or whatever, right? So it's a kind of a good way to educate the community on your inventory, I guess you could say, right? And what your perks of whatever business you have is.
Yeah, totally. And I think maybe a hypothetical example. If you're a restaurant, this is now the time you can really promote kind of your clean kitchen practices and the lengths you go to ensure your operation's sanitary. Just kind of throwing ideas
totally.
out there.
I mean, people do that. People have been doing that since before the COVID outbreak, right? So it's kind of a cool way to like, hey, by the way, we didn't just start this. Here's what we're doing, right? Or here's what we always
definitely. Yeah, and I think especially in the food industry, like the lasting effects of COVID-19 are going to go long after this whole thing dies down. I think people are going to be a lot more aware. I think people's the germaphobe inside people is really going to come out a lot more. And I think if companies can really showcase how or especially restaurants showcase how they're going the distance to make sure everything's sanitary, I think that could leave a long-lasting effect.
Yeah, 100%. I also think there's an opportunity for other ways to kind of generate revenue, right? Like you can offer like one thing that I've seen that has worked a little bit is offering like gift cards for future stuff, right? Hey, buy a gift card right now and then like get 10% off, your purchase like in a month or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of a cool, a smaller way. I wouldn't do a whole camp, like, I want to have that be my focus of all my messaging, but that's a way to kind of get some revenue coming in and also, help making sure
get people back in the door when things calm down.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I want to switch gears a little bit to an agency standpoint. Like what are some ways, as marketing agencies, I think we're, for the most part, pretty fortunate in our industries. Like, I'm not sure how things are going over at Inceive, but our business hasn't slowed down too much. I feel that, a lot of the smart brands are realizing, this is when we really need marketing the most. This is when we need to think outside of the box and try something new. We can't just hibernate. So I want to go back to what marketing agencies can do from that standpoint, or, what brands should kind of expect from marketing agencies during these times. Is there any way that, Inceive or you guys have been, going the distance to help clients in this time?
Yeah, totally. So, really for, when you think about an agency, right, a good agency at least should be part of the team, right? Not just some vendor, some faceless vendor. So, it's for us, it's really more. It's not like they're just coming to us and being like, "Hey, what do you think?" Right? We've already been in the trenches with them. We're part of their team. We're just like we're sitting in their office, right? So to that extent, I don't think a ton has changed in that regard. Where we're just a part of the team, making sure we can keep the wheel going, right? But then, there are certain situations where, we have bigger companies that we work for, or teams that we don't do specific things for, that are coming to us and asking us questions. And that's kind of, my main answer to your question is, you need to be a calm, confident leader in this time of like uncertainty, right? And being able to be, explain the different options, understanding that they're scared, their revenue is taking an impact, and, suggesting things that, can mitigate the situation and help the company grow without breaking the bank, right? So it's more of being an expert in experts, right, and having people and understand that people are going to rely on you for information to make crucial decisions, and that is probably one of the things that we've seen the most is just people asking us questions. They're scared. They need to they want direction, right, and that's something that we don't always do for every single one of our clients, but it's a way to show how awesome you are, basically, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think in addition to that, a lot of what we're seeing with agencies, from a long-term perspective, is being a little bit more flexible with payment plans. Because, a lot of, like I was talking about earlier, a lot of brands are taking massive, massive hits to or to their revenue. And, they're kind of at the point just like, I really can't afford marketing right now. What do I do? I don't want to lose everything, but, I can't afford to dump a huge amount of money into marketing at this moment because there's so much uncertainty. And I think this is the opportunity where marketing agencies can be like, look, let us educate you on how to get through this, think long term, what we were talking about earlier. And I think really just being flexible, like, maybe delaying payments for a couple months, offering more flexible payment plans during this time. Sure, your agency's revenue is going to take a little bit of a hit in the short term, but, in the long term, I feel like clients are really going to remember that. It's just like, your marketing agency was there for us when times were really dark. We want to stick with you guys. We're going to remember this.
Yeah, I think I like what you're saying there, but I think it's kind of like it's a double-edged sword, right? I mean, you don't go to the grocery store right now and say, "Hey, look, I can't pay for this food. Like, can you just give me food, and then maybe I'll pay you back in 2 months," right? And so the same goes. I mean, a lot of companies, right, their team have like credit cards and stuff like that. There's other ways for them to delay payments, but I agree you need to be flexible, but you also need to it's not your responsibility as an agency to take the financial hit for your clients, right?
Oh, totally.
And so I think there's a balance there, right? I mean, we've definitely been flexible with a lot of our clients that have asked us about being flexible, right? But at the same time, there's we want to make sure that we can keep the lights on too, and we also don't want to be doing work for 3 or 4 months and then have a company go out of business or something like that, right?
Right.
So there's definitely a risk assessment there, and I think being supportive and helpful, offering free support is really helpful. But there's a point where you can't be doing $100K a month work for free, right?
Oh yeah,
so
totally. Yeah, I mean, you definitely have to scale it back.
I like what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you definitely have to scale back the budget quite a bit. You can't just keep going business as usual, because now it's not business as usual. But you just have to keep the brand light, keep the brand light on. You don't have to go all out, but just make sure they don't go into hibernation mode is the biggest thing.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and I think it's really interesting. Go ahead.
Another thing you could do as a brand too is, I don't think there's a lot of webinars going around, and there's a lot of people being like, "Hey, here's how to marketing COVID," right? I don't think you need to create this whole webinar program, but even a simple message to your clients being like, "Hey, by the way, if you have any questions about this, let us know. I'd be happy to jump on the phone and do an hour-long thing where we're talking through solutions and being proactive about, hey, if you guys need support, let us know." I think can really go a long way, even with prospects too, right? Like, hey, I know this time, if we're talking about SEO, for example, hey, I know this time is tough, but let me know if you want to jump on the phone and we can talk through, some SEO opportunities, and I can do some research for your site or whatever, right? And and offering some, kind of free work to people you don't work with right now is, probably going to be helpful in the long run also, right?
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, like for example, like travel companies right now, like the travel industry is taking probably the biggest hit over anyone right now in terms of like organic traffic and conversions. I think a big thing agencies can do with those types of clients are be like, hey, let us, step back a little bit. Let's go through your site. Let's do a thorough audit. Let's do some house cleaning on your website right now. And then, get you geared up for when, this whole thing's over, hotels open up again, resorts open up, things go back to normal, your site will be in a good position. Just doing things
Totally.
behind the scenes. And I think another interesting thing we're seeing right now is a lot of companies are offering free education sources. I know Ahrefs is currently offering their Blogging for Business course for free, which I think is normally like an $800 value. And, I think that's a really interesting way to get more eyes on the brand and, really showcase your expertise. Because true Ahrefs is going to lose revenue on this. They know that. But I think the long-term effects are going to be hugely positive because Blogging for Business, that's 10 tutorials, almost 5 hours of content for free. And that's, obviously a lot more people are going to be downloading that because it's not $800. So one, they're offering help to marketers during a time of mass uncertainty. Two, they're helping getting their brand message out to way more people. And three, they're demonstrating their brand expertise and building trust in the digital space on a larger scale. And you got to think that once this whole thing calms down, more and more people are going to be like, "Oh, Ahrefs is awesome. They helped us out." Well, yeah, that should do it for our show. We just did a quick one today, and appreciate you listening to this one. And we'll see you next time. You're listening to This Week in Marketing by the American Marketing Association San Diego chapter, and powered by WS Radio. We'll see you next time.
Can you imagine a world without children? A world where children don't play, or dream, or imagine.
At St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, we're working every day to find cures for diseases that strike down children. Because we can't imagine a world without children. Can you?
Finding cures, saving children. St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. To learn how you can help, log on to our website, stjude.org.
Tired of presentations with no impact, no inspiration, and no traction? Do dull speakers have you and your team disengaged and distracted by smartphones? Christopher McAuliffe brings energy, insights, and 2 decades of experience, delivered with punch, humor, and heart. Your team will leave energized, uplifted, and with a sense of purpose. Visit ChristopherMcAuliffe.com to bring some heat to your next speaking engagement. McAuliffe. ChristopherMcAuliffe.com.
Take a break from politics. Tune in and learn something. WS Radio shows are worth your time and are filled with tips and advice. Add us to your lunch routine, and we'll give you a meal for your mind.
Kenja Dixon was crowned the #1 sales executive through hard work, deep thinking, and the revelation of universal talk laws. He now wants to share these lessons with you. Universal talk laws are what you need to know and use in business and at home to have successful and effective conversations. Kenja Dixon shares his wisdom, action plans, and wealth. Each book comes with a chance to win $10,000. Find Universal Talk Laws at KenjaDixon.com.
Do you want to be a professional coach? Are you in business trying to make a real difference with people you manage or work with? Have you started a coaching practice that isn't quite getting off the ground? Get the skills you need to be a successful coach today with the Coaches Training Program from Accomplishment Coaching. The Coaches Training Program will show you how to help others focus and be more fulfilled. Whether you want to improve your company's bottom line or create a thriving coaching practice, Accomplishment Coaching can give you the distinctions and practices you need to coach others effectively today. Accomplishment Coaching has spent 6 years developing a cutting-edge coaches training program that will have you ready to coach people professionally in just 12 months, and you don't have to take time off work to do it. To find out more about the Coaches Training Program, just call 1-888-548-6813. That's 1-888-548-6813.
Small businesses are the lifeblood of America's economy. Every Thursday, SBA Radio interviews industry professionals and is dedicated to provide small businesses with timely insights and innovations. Visit www.sbaradio.us for details.
Talk to me.
Information, news, and entertainment on demand.
WSRadio.com.
Welcome to This Week in Marketing, brought to you by the San Diego chapter of the American Marketing Association.
Talk to me.
Information, news, and entertainment on demand.
WSRadio.com.
Welcome to This Week in Marketing, brought to you by the San Diego chapter of the American Marketing Association.
Welcome back, San Diego marketers. You're listening to another episode of This Week in Marketing, brought to you by the American Marketing Association San Diego chapter, and of course powered by WS Radio. In the studio today, I've got Sam Wheeler. We're talking all about SEO and more particularly link building in 2020 and beyond. We wrapped up the last segment talking a little bit about link building and e-commerce, and I want to pick that back up in this segment. So I think, as we all know, link building for e-commerce sites is just getting harder and harder every day. Google's cracking down on, inserting any sort of promotional link, especially in informational blog posts or any sort of guides. And what do you see the biggest challenges for e-commerce companies these days in building links?
Great question. I think the biggest challenge is being able to position yourself and the resources on your site and your products as a resource for readers, right? So when any type of link building campaign, it's, the way that our company does this, but, more if you think about the theory of like why Google even uses links in the first place is they want to rank people that are leaders in the space that have really good resources that answer questions, right? So when you're thinking about your product and your blog articles and how you're building links, any interaction that you have on the web or anybody that's mentioning you, it needs to kind of fill that parameter. It needs to position your site or your company as a leader and a thought leader in the space, or it needs to position your article or your products or your service or whatever as a resource for the user, right? And if it doesn't satisfy that, then it doesn't really add value. I mean, Google has said this for years, like a list of like discount links or something like that on an EDU site, like those don't add really that much value anymore, right?
No,
so,
none.
You want to think about ways that you can sort of get around that, and you're connecting and building relationships with sites, almost like it's like part of the sales funnel, right? So I would, talk about link building teams out there that are thinking about, okay, how do we ship this for our e-com clients? You need to essentially change to like it's a sales model, right? You find a prospect, you want to build a relationship, and then you want to close it to make it's not a sale, but it's like the link placement, right? And at the end of the day, you need to, like I said, look at your site and break it down into like, what are the resources and how can I position them in my outreach as why I'm a resource, not just like, hey, look, we sell pet products, like we're so great, link to us. That doesn't work anymore, right? It's more like, hey, you wrote an article about like the dangers of chew toys or whatever. We've got all this research and we've got like 5 companies here that like pay for research and their products are blah, 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 whatever the value add is. And then that you position that and say, hey, you're missing this in your article. Can you include it? Mm-hmm. Right? Or even like, hey, we'll update it for you. Like, here's like 2 paragraphs of text that like help position it. There's a resource for further reading. Like, you want to help essentially websites build their own EAT scores, right? And anytime you get linked on there, it should be improving the article in some way. And if it doesn't, it's not going to be helpful.
So do you think the days of, I guess there may have never really been a heyday for this, but direct links to product pages, I feel like that's just kind of a thing of the past now. Websites don't want to link directly to your product page. It needs to be something that actually adds value.
So yes and no. I think, that's what I'm going back about. How do you position your product as a resource, right? Because like a dog chew toy product page could be a resource, right? It's like, hey, you need to have a dog, your dog's chewing up your couch or whatever. Here's a bunch of like really cool products and here's why they're valuable, right? And having a position as a resource, something that's like the best in the space, right? And I think that adds a ton of value. And it's up to the user or the website to decide what they feature, right?
Right. Well, I feel like, it could be the most valuable resource in the world, that product page. But I just feel like, if you approach a website with like, hey, this could add a lot of value, and the second they see that it's a product page, I just feel like it's getting to be harder and harder of a sell.
Yeah, you just need to show, that's part of the outreach, right? In that relationship that you're building, you need to explain very clearly and very quickly, like why it's a resource, not why people should buy it, but like what do they need to know? What are you missing out on in your page, right? So if you go, let's say there's that article about, what to do when your dog chews your couch up, reaching back out to that site saying, what's up, Jenny? Love the piece. But we noticed that like you're missing this bit about like the value of chew toys, right? Like here's 2 paragraphs of like why chew toys are helpful, what you should look out for, what is not helpful with chew toys. And, I think it might be valuable to like position a few resources, right? We've got one, here's another one, maybe something on Amazon or something like that. But to position as like, here are some solutions to your issue if you need chew toys, right? And that's, if you position it that way in your outreach and you quickly explain what the value add of the product is and why it's a resource for this specific situation, not all situations, but just that specific article, I think it will work. It's not going to work a lot, but it's, when it does, it's going to be pretty valuable.
Interesting. So I'm thinking, are there other ways, I'm wondering how often that really works. Like, is it really worth the time, to send all these emails? Because I don't do anything on the outreach side, but on my own website, I get inquiries to include product pages in my articles. And honestly, I skim through the email, I see a product page, instantly put the email in the trash. Maybe that's just me being a skimmer, but I'm just wondering if it's really worth the effort or if there's another way to go about adding value.
You're talking about for the brand side or for the editorial content owner?
For the brand side.
Yeah, it depends how you're getting links, right? If you're a big company and you're getting hundreds and hundreds of links a month, right, because of other efforts, maybe it's not worth it, right? To be getting, doing this manual outreach. But if you're a small company that doesn't get a ton of press and you don't have a huge budget, it's valuable because at the end of the day, those links, if you get, it used to be like a quantity over quality type of thing, but like one really strong resource focused link where your product is being positioned as a resource on a really strong website that has a bunch of traffic, that at the end of the day is going to be way more valuable than, a bunch of links on crappy sites, right? So, the answer is it's hard to quantify, but without it, you're not going to, there's only so much you can do, right? So it's more of like, I would drip them in, right? But it's, you don't want to put 20,000 of your $50,000 a month budget to linking, right? You want to be able to do other types of initiatives as well, but linking shouldn't be something that should really ever be ignored, in my opinion.
Right. Well, yeah, I'm just talking about like, linking directly to product and, category pages on e-commerce sites. But anyway, speaking of which, that segues into the next bit. We, on my company's in-house marketing podcast, we interviewed Brian Dean a couple weeks ago, and we asked him a similar question. And he recommended for e-commerce brands to try and boost their link juice for product pages. A good approach is to create an informational piece of content on their site, maybe like an industry report type of things. Like, for example, the 10 best video cards of 2019. And, within that, you can interlink, your product pages or maybe your category pages. And then if you outreach other websites, they're a lot more likely to link to that informational guide. And, you'll have a lot better success rate getting links to that as opposed to direct product links. And, if you can get links for that, it's not going to give a ton of juice to the product pages, not nearly as much as it would with a direct link. But, it's something. And the chances of getting that link on the site are a lot greater.
Yeah, totally. That also, helps build domain authority as a whole. So
Right.
when I'm talking about kind of that specific product link outreach tactic that we talked about earlier, of just like reaching out, being like, hey, this is why this is valuable. We'll add a little bit to your piece or whatever. That is a tactic that shouldn't be your main focus, but should be one that you're getting, right? If your site builds this kind of like, white paper or something that you're just talking about, and that's the only way you're getting links, it's going to look really unnatural. You get that link authority that's flowing down into those product pages, which is like great, but at the end of the day, you want to be building a natural profile of like links from all parts of your site, right? So, I think that white label tactic is good from like getting more of a volume of links. But at the end of the day, that those, like you said, those product links are going to be really valuable. I wouldn't stop doing that. It would just be like a sliver of time of your like allocation for the different tactics you're doing should be going to that. And in addition to stuff like that, I mean, that's kind of like skyscraper content, right? Where you're just like building a bunch, you're bringing in a bunch of different resources, a bunch of different people and saying, look, this is like the best source on the web or whatever. And then also like understanding the need for that stuff, right? So, there's like a good example would be like if you notice there's like hundreds and hundreds of links going to like a specific Wikipedia page about a topic, just rewrite that Wikipedia page and make it better and put it on your site and be like, hey, all those people that are linking to Wikipedia, be like, hey, look, we have a way better resource than this Wikipedia article that you're linking to, right? And that's like a standard tactic that has been, people have been doing it for years, right? But you're building links to like a piece of link bait, right? That's not necessarily supposed to rank for something, if that makes sense.
Right. How receptive do you think people would be to that, though? Like linking to, a website they've never heard of who claims they have better content than Wikipedia over linking to Wikipedia?
It works. I mean, people know Wikipedia is like a community thing, right? I mean, you just have to convince them. It's all really in the pitch, the outreach pitch, right? Mm-hmm. You need to convince them, like, look at this. It's way better graphics, easier to read, easier to digest, more information. If you can communicate that in the email, right, and the piece is actually good, if you have half a brain, you're going to open that up and go, whoa, that's way better than Wikipedia. Like, I'm going to update the link. And what you can do and what, we've done before that's worked is, like, you don't necessarily need to, like, steal links from Wikipedia. You just be like, hey, can you also add this as another resource, right? And that works really well, too.
We're going to have to pick this up in the next segment. We've got about 5 seconds left, but I wanted to dive a little bit deeper into that, and we'll pick this up in segment 4. You're listening to This Week in Marketing, powered by AMA San Diego, and put on by WS Radio.
Help a newborn baby in need? Sometimes the blessing of birth becomes complicated and perilous. Miracle Babies is there to help. Miracle Babies helps moms and dads give their all to their struggling little baby, but still need more. When you give to Miracle Babies, you help them give more. More skin-to-skin care, breast milk, and love. Go to miraclebabies.org and give right now. Be their miracle.
On the internet, your business's reputation can be unjustly destroyed in an instant. Don't wait for that to happen. Building and marketing your 5-star reputation can increase your business by as much as 19%. Take control of your reputation and have the 5-star reputation you deserve with Reputation Marketing Solutions by DSI Development. Become the go-to company by visiting 5starrepmarketing.com. The number 5starrepmarketing.com.
Nowadays, internet devices are an integral part of your home. Everyone in your family has a smartphone, tablet, or a computer. Life is easier knowing that all your devices are secured and your family can surf the internet carefree. ESET Multi-Device Security Pack does just that. One license for all your devices. With ESET, it's simple to stay protected and save money. Enjoy safer technology with ESET Multi-Device Security Pack at ESET.com. That's ESET.com.
You may have heard me brag about Progressive Medical Center and just how much they've helped me with my health. And Dr. Goley, one thing that you've helped so many people with is migraines.
Unfortunately, there are millions and millions of Americans who are suffering with migraines and headaches, and they're debilitating because it affects the quality of their life, and they cannot function properly. At Progressive, we get the root cause because we understand that migraines could be caused by nutritional deficiencies, hormonal imbalances, believe it or not, delayed food sensitivities. And once we determine what the real reason is, we put a plan of action together together with medication that we get them off slowly, and we put them on a all-natural approach, and the results are amazing.
Incredible. I mean, there's so many people that can say they don't live their lives with migraines anymore thanks to Progressive Medical Center.
And that's what's exciting and rewarding to us as physicians, because we help our patients take control of their health, and that's why they're living well.
Why don't you get a hold of Progressive Medical Center today? Don't live in pain. Don't have migraines anymore. Just go to their website, progressivemedicalcenter.com.
This is your life. Live it well.
This is Bill Gruber with BizVid Communications, a Southern California video production leader. We've been honored to sponsor, produce, write, and host many of the fine programs on WS Radio over the years. So we understand how important the internet and your website exposure are. As video producers, we know the tricks and secrets to incorporate video to increase your search engine optimization and business success. Visit bizvidcommunications.com to see what we can do for you. BIZVID communications.com.
Talk to me.
Information, news, and entertainment on demand.
WSRadio.com.
Welcome to This Week in Marketing, brought to you by the San Diego chapter of the American Marketing Association.
Welcome back, San Diego marketers. You're listening to This Week in Marketing, provided by the AMA San Diego and, of course, powered by WS Radio. In the studio today, I've got Sam Wheeler. We're talking all about SEO and link building for 2020. We wrapped up our last segment talking a little bit about e-commerce and some good link building strategies. And just to pick up where we left off, I know, Sam, you were talking about doing link building in around Wikipedia and creating better content that's what's on Wikipedia and convincing the linking domains to link to you instead. So I'm curious. I feel like, we're hearing all this buzz around EAT, and when it comes to EAT, Wikipedia is one of those sites that's just at the top of the line. It's, people see those links in the article and automatically think it's credible. So I'm wondering, let's say you've got a DA of, you're in the 30s, maybe 40s. How do you go about convincing website owners who are linking to Wikipedia to link to you instead?
So, great question. I would not even bring up DAs at all in the initial pitch, obviously. But if somebody comes back to you and says, hey, your DA is so low, I don't want to link to you, you got to hit them back with this idea that DA is just a relative metric, right? It's relative to the industry you're in. It's a made-up number that Moz does based on your internal or your external links pointing to your site. It really just depends on the situation of the industry and the other pages that are ranking, right? So, at the end of the day, Google wants to rank the best source of information on a topic that answers a query. That's what Google wants to do, regardless of the size of the site or whatever their DA is, right? Which is page authority and domain authority, right? And so, that's why you have all these smaller sites that are ranking for really specific topics, and they're beating, people like Walmart and Amazon in some cases because Google has basically said this is the best source of information, right? I'm going to rank it. So, DA should be looked at as a relative metric, not as we don't link to stuff above or below a certain DA, because, at the end of the day, if the content's great and you produce a really good piece of content, you just need to show people that this is the best and explain why very succinctly in an email, and it should work. It's not always going to work, right? But, the better you can do that, the more successful your outreach campaign will be.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I just feel like in a lot, especially coming from the travel blogging industry, DA is just really the lifeblood of any sort of link building or guest posting. I think every single inquiry I've got is hey, here's my site, DA, whatever. Can you link back to me? Do you want to do some sort of three-way link exchange, whatever the tactics are?
Yeah, I mean, the DA, you can artificially inflate DA. A lot of guest posting sites, and that's kind of what Google's going after with this outbound stuff, is that's how they make money, right? They inflate their DA by getting links. They have no traffic. Mm-hmm. It's DA 30, but no organic traffic at all. And then they sell outbound links, right? And that doesn't work, and that's what Google, I think, is trying to crack down on with this outgoing link warnings, right? But, if you just look at DA, you're missing, because a DA 40 with no traffic is way less valuable than a DA 10 with actual traffic, right? Mm-hmm. And also the other thing that, a lot of sites miss out on is the relevancy signal, right? So a DA 40 site that's all about flowers, versus if, let's say you sell flowers, right? A DA 40 site about tools or a DA 10 site about flowers, you probably want to link from that smaller site that's about flowers because you also sell flowers, right? And that's more relevant than some site about tools or whatever, right? So there's this relevancy signal where a site with a lower DA that's specifically about your industry is really, really impactful. So, another great example is like if you sell accounting software, right? You want links from all these really tiny accounting websites of, freelance accountants, right? You want those links. Those are really, really powerful. It's really relevant. They have small rankings like in their locality, right? But it's all specifically about accounting stuff. Right. So it doesn't matter the DA in that situation. And that's one thing we tell our clients a lot because, it's this relevancy signal. You need to position yourself. It goes back to what I said earlier. You need to position yourself as a leader in your industry, right? And so if you've got a bunch of these small websites that are real websites that are freelance accountants and they're referencing your product and you're an accounting software, that is like the most valuable thing in terms of link than, some marketing website that's DA 70 linking to you, right? About your software or whatever.
Right.
So, when you're looking at that linking campaign, you need to take into consideration the domain authority of the site that you're getting links from, but also like the relevancy signals of that site, because if they're not positioning you as a leader or it's not in your industry, it's ultimately not going to add value.
Right. Yeah. And for that, I like to use the analogy, like say you're a restaurant, you're a brand new restaurant that opened up. If another chef says your food is really good, that's going to help a ton. Whereas like if an auto mechanic says it's really good, yeah, that's cool, but that's not, what does an auto mechanic know about culinary? Whereas if someone like Gordon Ramsay says your food's awesome, that's going to be huge.
Totally. And the websites, when we're talking about these low DA sites, they just need to be real, right? So if you see like so when you're looking at DA, you should also be looking at actual traffic, not actual organic traffic that the site's getting. If you see like wild swings in their traffic, like an indication of a penalty, you don't want to link to them really no matter how high their DA is, right? But, going back to that point about like the Gordon Ramsay and the culinary stuff, let's say you open a restaurant, there's another layer of complexity in terms of local search, right? Where like if you're a restaurant and you're trying to rank for the term like dinner in the town that you're in, getting a link from that mechanic down the street is going to add value because it's a local link in your vicinity. It's a local business around your physical location. That might not be as powerful as a link from Gordon Ramsay's website, obviously, but it's something that shows Google, hey, look, I'm a player in this specific locality, right? So, from a link building standpoint for local, what we suggest always is every business that's within like a 20-mile radius of your physical location, you should reach out to them and try to get a link on their site.
Interesting. I never thought of it like that. I like that a lot. Cool. So yeah, I want to come back what we talked about a little bit ago about reciprocal linking. Just to shift gears a little bit.
Yeah, we could have a whole.
True. Yeah, we got about 2 minutes left in this one.
So I got a very strong take on reciprocal linking.
Well, let's get a taste in 2 minutes here.
All right. So reciprocal linking, link to my page, my links page, and I'll link to your links page. That's dead.
Yeah,
it hasn't worked for years, right? But like if you think about how many times the New York Times links to somebody and how many times that person links to the New York Times, that's a lot, right? So when we're talking about reciprocal linking, that type of you link to me on my links page, I'll link to you you link on my links page, that's dead. But like you can still link to another website if they link to you, if it adds value. So that's the key, right? So if maybe you don't want the same page going back and forth, but like if you link to them on one page of your site, they link to you on another page and about a different topic or whatever, as long as the link is being positioned as a resource or positioning your company as a leader in the space, in my opinion, it's completely fine. Again, going back to the theory of if the link adds value, it's okay. Now, I wouldn't have conversations about this is our reciprocal link, right? It'd be more in the email chain or how you position it is really important. Like, okay, this makes sense here because I'll position you as a leader or it's a really good resource. Hey, we also have this resource. Can you link to us on this page over here? Whatever, right? So I think you can do it if it makes sense and adds value. But if you're doing it to game the algorithm, ultimately will backfire, or
Yeah.
Google will just ignore it, to be honest.
Interesting. So, yeah, I've seen a lot of in the travel blogging industry, to come back to that for like the millionth time in this episode. A lot of what we see is three-way link exchanges. Do you think there's still value in that, other than, I mean, I know a lot of it's what you just talked about, like how it adds value.
Well, with the three-way link exchange, you're kind of creating like a mini PBN almost, right? If you just keep doing that over and over again, it's essentially just that's what a PBN is, right? It's just a bunch of sites linking to each other in the circle. Again, if it adds value, you're good. We need to pick this up again.
Sounds good. Yeah, we could probably do a whole episode on this. Well, thanks for listening, everyone. This was another great episode of This Week in Marketing, brought by the AMA San Diego and, of course, powered by WS Radio. And we'll see you next time.
Can you imagine a world without children? A world where children don't play, or dream, or imagine?
At St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, we're working every day to find cures for diseases that strike down children, because we can't imagine a world without children. Can you?
Finding cures, saving children. St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. To learn how you can help, log on to our website, stjude.org.
Do you want to be a professional coach? Are you in business trying to make a real difference with people you manage or work with? Have you started a coaching practice that isn't quite getting off the ground? Get the skills you need to be a successful coach today with the Coaches Training Program from Accomplishment Coaching. The Coaches Training Program will show you how to help others focus and be more fulfilled. Whether you want to improve your company's bottom line or create a thriving coaching practice, Accomplishment Coaching can give you the distinctions and practices you need to coach others effectively today. Accomplishment Coaching has spent 6 years developing a cutting-edge coaches training program that will have you ready to coach people professionally in just 12 months, and you don't have to take time off work to do it. To find out more about the coaches training program, just call 1-888-548-6813. That's 1-888-548-6813.
Tired of presentations with no impact, no inspiration, and no traction? Do dull speakers have you and your team disengaged and distracted by smartphones? Christopher McCullough brings energy, insights, and 2 decades of experience, delivered with punch, humor, and heart. Your team will leave energized, uplifted, and with a sense of purpose. Visit ChristopherMcCullough.com to bring some heat to your next speaking engagement. McCulloughe. ChristopherMcCullough.com.
Looking to be a successful entrepreneur? The virtual assistant industry continues to be a top choice for those looking to start their own business. The problem can be how to become a virtual assistant. Many turn to the Bible of the VA industry, the book Virtual Assistant, the series, and it's the perfect guide for office managers, executive assistants, and other administrative professionals looking to make the transition from employee to successful business owner. Go to vatheseries.com to get your copy today.
Hi, Scale listener. This is David Finkel, co-host with Jeff Hoffman of Scale Your Business. I wanted to let you know that our newest book, Scale, was just released, and to encourage you to get your copy. The book will give you 7 proven principles to grow your business and get your life back. Scale will help you work less by getting your business to produce more. Get your copy online or at your local bookseller. For more information, visit us online at scaleyourbusinesstoolkit.com.